Jess, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Brian, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yep, we got you. Thank you.
All right, I'll be on the line.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us. It is 6 o'clock, so I will call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of Tuesday, March 12th, 2024. Please join me for a flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Assembly of the City and Borough of Sitka would like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional first people of Sitka. With gratitude, we proceed on Tlingit Ani. Jess, roll call, please.
Mayor Eisenbeis,
Present.
Mr. Mosier,
Here.
Mr. Pike,
Here.
Mr. Yestad,
Here.
Mr. Christensen,
Here.
Ms. Carlson,
Here.
Mr. Saling.
Here. Thank you. Any correspondence or agenda changes this evening? Seeing none, that'll bring us to special reports. Is there anyone here for government to government? Municipal boards, commissions, committees? Municipal departments? School district? And students and guests for special reports. Seeing none, we will move on to persons to be heard. This is public participation for any item off of tonight's agenda, not to exceed 3 minutes for any individual.
Mr. Mayor, members of the Assembly, good evening. My name is Jeff Felpouch. I'm the Resource Protection Department Director for the Sitka Tribe of Alaska. I sent you an email a couple of days ago, or maybe it was yesterday, about the operation of the Redoubt Bay Weir. We received notice from the Forest Service that a couple of weeks ago that they wouldn't have funding to operate the weir. Without the weir operating, the area management biologist just said he has to go with the bare minimums, regardless of what the projected escapement could be. Last year, I think we got up to 100 fish per season. So it'd be capped at 10 fish a day, 50 fish for the season. There would be no commercial fishery opened up. If we reach a 40,000 fish projected escapement with data through the weir, or from the weir, they would open up the commercial fishery. Over the last 5 years, I think they've averaged about 13,000, roughly 13,500 fish caught in the commercial fishery. They would also not be able to open up or issue a community harvest permit to the Sitka Tribe of Alaska to harvest sockeye for its traditional foods program. What we're asking for from local entities is a letter to the forest supervisor, ADF and G commissioner, asking them to go back and look and see if they can find the 26,000 it's going to take to operate the weir this year. STA is working with the Forest Service or the Sitka Ranger District right now towards a co-stewardship agreement down the line to share some of those responsibilities on managing the weir and fertilizing the lake. Right now, it looks like unless we can come up with the money, lake fertilization isn't going to happen this year. If the weir doesn't operate, we're going to see some significant restrictions placed on the community. So the Sitka Tribe is looking for stopgap measures in some of its funding and trying to divert funding to catch this if the agency is already able to come up with that 26,000. And then we're also looking at long-term operation. If the tribe does become a co-steward or takes over operation of the weir, we still have to find money for that. And grants aren't the best way to operate that kind of a system that requires consistent funding. You miss a grant 1 year and the weir doesn't operate, that kind of thing. So we would hope the city would send out a letter requesting support from both the agencies and be available this fall to work with stakeholders to come up with a long-term plan for that system. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Richard Ween. On the 17th of March is St. Patrick's Day. I don't know whether anybody knows who St. Patrick's is, but he's an interesting fellow, and forget about the snakes. It all has to do with bringing Christianity to Ireland, and it's a very interesting story. So before you put that Guinness Stout to your lips, look up who the gentleman that you're celebrating the holiday for. A couple of things. One is when they were building the road to Kathleen, I always felt it was a very poor idea. I remember when they went out with the engineers and cut a little trail, and I also remember year after year all the problems they were having in building this very poorly thought out project. What is interesting is that it was a $15 million statewide bond, which was going to be for build the road to Kathleen, but that was not enough money. So what happens is through pulling strings within the state, they brought another $15 million of unused bonds, meaning that's money that's owed from Fairbanks. But then again, that was not enough money. So the state put in another 10 million. And I had heard that the state put in potentially another 10 million. So we're up to $50 million. But one of the things that I have heard is that the state may have pulled the plug on it. I have some correspondence out to the Department of Transportation. We'll find out the truth of it, but I would really like some status report from the city about the road to Kathleen. A bad idea at the beginning, if they did pull the plug, that's $50 million down. The amount of ecologic damage that was caused there is like unbelievable. And because there's a corduroy road, it will not grow back very well. At least in this short term. There have been landslides, there's been a death, and I'm sure there will be no heads that will roll for this incredibly poor idea. So I'd like a status report on the Catlian Bay Road. The other thing is that in Atlas Shrugged, there was which is a book by Ayn Rand, there was the question of who is John Galt? And you had to read a couple of hundred pages to find out. It's a 1,000-page book. You had to read a little bit in order to find out who John Galt was. But what I want to know is who is Joel Collins and who is Roberto Hernandez? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Austin Cranford. On February 27th, an assembly member commented on retaliation and asked if I knew about whistleblower laws. I responded yes before being cut off. As such, I wanted to respond to the question further. A National Library of Medicine study titled Snitches Get Stitches and End Up in Ditches, a systematic review of the factors associated with whistleblowing intentions by Adam R. Nicholas, Lucas R.W. Fairs, and others with a PMID number of 346-75830. The authors mention on page 2 that 81% of respondents failed to blow the whistle because of fears of retaliation, European Commission 2018, and dispelled the myth that whistleblowers are disgruntled employees, Zing and others 2020. A second study by Bradley University published in DePaul Business and Commercial Law Journal found that 2/3 of whistleblowers faced retaliation. 69% were forced to retire, 68% reported being stalked by supervisors or related entities, and 64% were blacklisted from getting another job in their field. The Supreme Court recently, in Marie v. UBS Securities LLC, docket number 22-660, held that employees did not need to show that an employer acted with retaliatory intent under the SOC Act in a 9-0 decision. Meanwhile, a recent BBC article dated 03/11/2024 titled Boeing Whistleblower Found Dead in the U.S. It stated that 62-year-old John Barnett had died from a, quote, self-inflicted, unquote, wound on March 9th. Police are, however, investigating. At the time of his death, Barnett was in Charleston for legal interviews. Last week, he gave a formal deposition in which he was questioned by Boeing's lawyers before being cross-examined by his own counsel. He had been due to undergo further questioning on Saturday. When he did not appear, inquiries were made at his hotel. He was subsequently found dead in his truck in the hotel car park. Meanwhile, per the New York Times this morning, Boeing failed 33 of their 89 audits and had 97 cases of noncompliance. As such, my response to the assembly question is yes, I am aware of whistleblower laws and how they are wholly inadequate in protecting the people they so claim. Thank you.
Anyone else for persons to be heard? Seeing none, that'll bring us to consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda consisting of item A, approve the minutes of the February 27th and 29th assembly meetings. And item B, approve the liquor license renewal application for House of Liquors, Inc., DBA House of Liquor at 705 Halbert Point Road, Suite D.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Is there any public comment? Jess, on the consent agenda?
Yes, on the motion to approve the consent agenda, Mr. Christensen,
Yes.
Mr. Yestad,
Yes.
Mr. Mosher,
Yes.
Mr. Saline,
Yes.
Ms. Carlson,
Yes.
Mr. Pike,
Yes.
Mayor Eisenbeis.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 on items A and B.
Thank you. Brings us to new business this evening, item C.
I move to approve ordinance 2024-06 on first reading, making supplemental appropriations for fiscal year 2024, the Thompson Harbor Lift Station.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded. John, I understand Ron Vincent is here to talk to us about this one.
Good evening, my name,
I was gonna say, thank you for your brief introduction on this.
you're welcome. Good evening, my name is Ron Vinson, and I'm the Public Works Director for the City and Borough of Sitka. As you may recall, in January of this year, ordinance 2024-04 approved the appropriation of about 1.7 million in the form of a DEC loan. As follow-up to the Assembly's approval, the CBS project team engaged the DEC application process for the loan. As we've gotten further into this, we've realized that DEC will not be completing their application process until June. Unfortunately, given the project's construction window and schedule, a lack of funding until June will have adverse impacts to the project schedule. It could also increase the likelihood of delay damages. In an effort to maintain the existing project schedule and avoid potential for delay-related damages, it is recommended to temporarily fund this project using working capital from the wastewater fund until the month of June, when DEC loan funding can be expected. So,
Appreciate that. If we have any other questions, we'll call you up.
thank you.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on ordinance 24-06?
Good evening. My name is Richard Ween. This money is for the Thompson Harbor lift station. One of the interesting things is that money was appropriated for this lift station, but what happened when it finally came to fruition, it was discovered that it could not be done at the price that it would have been appropriated for. So this required an additional $1.7 million, which in 2024-04 was appropriated by the Assembly. And which is a good thing. We certainly need the lift station. But again, whenever these things come up, I need to remind the Assembly that this represents a loan, $1.7 million, even though it's a DEC loan. And I don't know, remember what the interest rate, 1.5% or 2%, it still represents one, a revenue that you're going to have to pay in interest, but also it represents principal. And I don't feel that the Assembly is really keeping tabs about all of these things, even though they're very necessary. We really need to know when we have a state of the city address that we really know how much money is really beginning to rack up. And that being said, I think that all of these 650,000 visitors that may come represents a significant number of flushes. And perhaps you might consider a flush tax in order to help deal with the lift system. By the way, for those people who might be listening, the lift station brings waste from the sewers to the processing plant. So think flush tax. I don't think the cruise industry would say that's unconstitutional.
Any other public comment on 24-06? Assembly deliberation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can we call Ron up again? Thank you, Ron. Thank you for all your work on this. This is a critical and crucial project that has to be done one way or another. I just had a question. Do you anticipate the loan not coming through for any reason?
Just like any loan or grant, there is a chance that, the economy could slide into difficult times, and there could be, that is a potential outcome. As we've collaborated with the DEC, they have actually leaned more in anticipation of a favorable outcome.
Okay.
This project already has a $1.3 million DEC loan, and their standard practice is, once you have a loan, they want to see that project sought through. And so I would say we have an above average chance of getting this loan with them.
Okay, thank you. And it's my understanding too, these, they want to help. It's the government and they want to help communities thrive. So on any chance for some reason that we don't get that loan, how is that going to affect our working capital?
If it's looking like this isn't going to happen, so we're going to be collaborating with DEC, going through June. If it's looking like this isn't going to happen, we're going to have to change our capital requests for this year, is what I would anticipate.
Yeah, because this
Yeah.
has to be done. It's not a choice.
Has to be done. Yeah. There's no getting around this one. And it's a costly one. So.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Any other questions for Ron while we have him up here? Thanks again, Ron.
Thank you.
Stephen, I'll just finish my comment. I'm going to support this. Obviously, he discussed and it's in the packet. This has to happen. It's not a choice. It's a critical infrastructure. So I'll be supporting this. Thank you.
Anything further from the assembly? Jess?
Yes, on the motion to approve ordinance 2024-06 on first reading. Ms. Carlson,
Yes.
Mr. Mosher,
Yes.
Mr. Pike,
Yes.
Mr. Christensen,
Yes.
Mr. Saline,
Yes.
Mr. Yestad,
Yes.
Mayor Eisenbeiss.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 on item C.
Thank you. That ends our regularly scheduled business tonight. So we will be on the second persons to be heard of the evening. This is public participation for any item on or off of tonight's agenda, not to exceed 3 minutes for any individual.
Good evening. My name is Richard Ween. I won't bore you with economics. I don't think we need to know anything about economics. There are a lot of indices which are coming out this week. Certainly, what has come out has been the CPI so far this week. And it has, and this is the headline CPI. There are all kinds of CPIs and they have different meanings. This is the headline, which is the simplest of them all and probably the most non-accurate. But one thing for sure is that inflation was very hot in February. And this was also true in January. Now, one of the important things is that is what affected the lift station monies, because costs change and inflation is not going away. And inflation is very sensitive here in Sitka, where all our goods and services are dependent upon fossil fuels. And so that is something that really needs to be kept in mind. Other things that need to be kept in mind, for example, in September 28th, 23, I believe we had somebody here talking about our FERC relicensing that is going to have to take place in the Blue Lake Dam. So my question to the Assembly, because remember, inflation is here. When was the last time there was a tunnel walk? A tunnel walk. Are they required? Yes. And I think that it is problematic if these issues are not discussed in an open and public way, because these have the ability to cost an incredible amount of money in dealing with the problems that are potentially with the dam and its relicensing. We need to hear progress reports on the relicense. One, two, you have the gate up there, which has never been tried. Opening it and closing it. And if there's a problem, you're going to need a gigantic crane, which is going to have to be transferred probably from Juneau. There are all kinds of things, but no one's talking about them. Nobody is informing the public. And then all of a sudden we're going to hear, well, we have a 10, 20, $30 million problem. And that is especially true within the electric department. There are all kinds of issues, and I think the best way to deal with it is transparency. Let us know what's going on real time. So I'll ask again, who is Joel Collins and who is Roberto Hernandez? Thank you.
Anyone else for persons to be heard?
Good evening. My name is Austin Cranford. I'm going to piggyback off the transparency talking point that Mr. Ween was speaking about. I wanted to ask the Assembly and Administrator about a records request and the recent reaction to it, as it seems to contradict the city's strategic plan for transparency. I was going to leave this alone, but the reaction from the city administration seemed to make it suspicious. Last month, a member of the public informed me that city employees were seen removing records from a city location to a vehicle. They believed it was suspicious timing due to the recent appeals request and suggested I might want to look into it. While looking into it, I received the department head meeting minutes from February 22nd at Harrington Centennial Hall, 8:30 to 9:10 a.m. from an unknown email and phone number. I filed a records request for those records on March 6th, which was fulfilled at the end of the business day on the 11th. However, while waiting for the request, I was informed that Administrator John Leach sent a citywide email on the same day stating the following. I have condensed the email for time. Quote, CBS team, I want to address a change regarding our department head meetings. Effective immediately, we will discontinue taking minutes during these sessions. City staff have been sharing/emailing these informal notes within our community. In lieu of taking minutes, department heads are now tasked with conducting regular check-ins with their teams to ensure essential information is communicated. I anticipate that this message might be shared publicly. Transparency is the cornerstone of our operations, and we have nothing to hide and remain committed to serving our community with honesty, respect, and integrity. To maintain a productive and cohesive working environment, minutes will only be recorded when necessary and as required by law, charter, or code. This step is needed to protect the integrity of our internal deliberations, ensure that we can work as a team. Team was highlighted in red and underlined, end quote. My question to the Assembly is, if the city has nothing to hide, per the email that I just read to you, why is information being restricted, not just in general, but what seems to be in a direct response to a request for information? Those minutes were publicly available until I requested them, and now they're being hidden by the city. That seems a little suspicious. I was going to leave it alone. I requested the records that were destroyed, and there wasn't anything there. It was handbills. It was record receipts. It was general election information from 2004. There was no suspicious records there. What made it suspicious was the city's reaction to a records request of, oh, Cranford has requested records. We're no longer going to maintain those records. That just seems a little suspicious, and I'd like the Assembly to address it. Thank you.
Anyone else for persons to be heard this evening? Seeing none, that'll bring us to the reports section. For my report, I will be gone this following week. So Kevin, you've got the helm in my absence. You'll be all glad to know that it'll be sunny in Sitka and raining where I'm going, which is just my luck. So, John, do you have a report?
Yes, Mayor, really quickly, I'll be out at the Northwest Managers Conference in Seaside, Oregon. So I'll be gone for the next assembly meeting. That's the 26th through the 29th. As the VP of the Alaska Municipal Managers Association, we hosted the event in the state of Alaska last year. I actually didn't attend that one, but going as the Alaska rep this year. Some of the items on the agenda are pretty interesting. They're talking about the unsheltered individuals and camping ordinances that have been put in place in cities, and then how that's being addressed in other areas. Seaside is also going to be discussing some tourism related issues in their community as well. So looking forward to sitting in those conversations.
Thank you, Brian.
Yes, I'm continuing to work remotely. My next planned trip to Sitka will be I'll be in the office on April 8th and 9th. this coming April 8th and 9th. Until then, I continue to work remotely. Thank you.
Thank you. Liaison representatives. Scott?
Library, I got a good lesson in why we need another full-time person at the library, just watching the ins and outs there. So I'm ready to talk when that comes up, but we still can't get the copier fired up. And then we gotta correspond with Amsterdam to like it's midnight here. And so there's a timing deal there, but we sure are waiting for that copier to get going. A lot of people in town. Thank you.
JJ?
As a member of the Baranoff Renaming Committee, it is officially now Zoots Elementary School.
Sure.
I might be jumping, it's kind of under other, but I think most people are pretty much done. I was just gonna ask about the Catlin situation, if that really requires assembly action for the mayor to write a letter, or the administrator.
Yeah, that
and or
would
the-
be under other, unless you have a
That's what I'm
liaison.
saying. This
Yeah,
is, I,
we'll save that one for other.
yeah, right, that's what I thought it was.
Any other liaison reports this evening? Moving on to Jess.
Yes, we just have various boards and commission opportunities for people to come and join us. We have an animal hearing board position, employment relations board, historic preservation commission, investment committee, and local emergency planning committee, parks and rec, police and fire, sustainability commission, and tree and landscape. So call us or come and see us and we can get you an application so you could join a great board and commission.
Thank you. And then Tor, Catlin Road.
Yeah, I mean, I just, not a whole lot more. I don't think writing a letter, I mean, I'd be happy to sponsor something for the next meeting, but I strikes me that that's something that you and or the administrator could just do. It's kind of like we are always saying, hey, we'd like it if you did something. So if
I would feel comfortable requesting an update from DOT, but I wouldn't feel comfortable writing a letter that the assembly has not approved, as I can't take a position that the assembly has not approved.
yeah, I mean, does it really
So-
need to be a formal vote, you think, or just kind of the will of the
We can look into it and we'll come back. If DOT will give us an update, maybe by Zoom, then that'd probably be the easiest route. So I'll let you know. Any other reports this evening? That'll bring us to our executive session this evening.
I move to go into executive session to discuss employee benefits, the immediate knowledge of which would adversely affect the finances of the municipality.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session. Is there any public comment on entering executive session?
Good evening. My name is Austin Cranford. I just wanted to speak real quick on the employee benefits. I think it would be beneficial if the community, or not the community, if the assembly would be more public about what is going on. Yeah, you're speaking about employee benefits, but from my understanding, we've lost most of our electrical department. Our police department isn't doing too hot. I've heard rumors that other departments are suffering staffing issues. We're hiring for 27 positions on the city website. There's quite a few open positions there. And I just think the assembly needs to be more transparent about what's going on there. Thank you.
Any other public comment on entering executive session? Back to the assembly for deliberation. Jess?
Yes, on the motion to enter into executive session, Mr. Pike,
Yes.
Mr. Yestad,
Yes.
Mr. Mosier,
Yes.
Mayor Eisenbeiss,
Yes.
Mr. Christensen,
yes.
Ms. Carlson,
Yes.
Mr. Saline.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 for the executive session item. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be in room 2 this evening. Assembly, take a break if you need to, and then we'll meet up in room 2.
Yes, it's my understanding you will call me on my cell, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.